Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Second Shot All-American podcast, partnered with the Greater Cincinnati Golf Association. My name is Phil. I'm your host for today's episode. And with me, as always, my associate, Tom. Tom, how are you?
Doing great, Phil. Coming off the Mid-Am yesterday.
Yes.
Another great event in the GCGA's schedule. I'm sure we're going to get into that more shortly.
Correct. And we had good weather for it. Traditions was the host for the 26th MET Mid-Am Championship. We'll talk about that, but today's guest, we have Geoff Hensley. Geoff is most notably known for his time at Coldstream Country Club, very solid University of Cincinnati golfer and such, and then he came back home to Coldstream. So we'll have an interview with him here coming up, but first off, we got to talk about Tom's he went for a leap of faith and accomplished one of his goals in playing in a tournament on his own. And it happened to be the Mid-Am this year at Traditions Golf Club. So, Tom, good first day, a little bit of a shaky second day, but I kept getting some updates, and it was like, I'm falling apart. Just struggling to break 90 now. That's the goal. And the emotional roller coaster that was the Mid-Am for you this year.
Yeah, well, first off, just to recap the event, congratulations to Alex Roger on his record 6th MET Mid-Am title. He shot 6 under, I believe it was 64-74. That's 64. I did not see a 64 out there. I was actually playing with Coach Arlinghouse day one. And I was even par through 6 holes. And I said to him, I was like, if I'm even par through 6 holes, someone is going to shoot in that 4 to 7 under range today. And Alex actually shot 8 under, which was very impressive.
It was a little soft out there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it was there. Like I said, I'm not saying 64 was there. That's still really darn good. I'm not going to downplay that 64. Yeah. But yeah, the greens were receptive. I mean, there were some shots to be made out there. And the greens were rolling well. They're very makeable speed. They weren't overly fast or anything like that. They were very like at that makeable speed. And then I want to congratulate Brendan Walsh as well on his runner-up finish. He shot 75-67 for a 2 under total. But yeah, just to go back to me playing in this event. So I did have a goal at the beginning of the year. I wanted to play in an individual a tournament. I had not played in an individual tournament in 12 years. The 2014 Worcester, however people want to pronounce it.
Yes.
Invitational was the last time I played an event that Phil actually won. I think before I talk about the event, I think I first just want to encourage others to try to do what I did. First of all, if you've not played in any competitive golf event, give it a shot. And I know there's a lot of new players out there. There's events, including the upcoming handicap championship, where you don't even have to play by yourself. You can play with a buddy, and use your handicap for your score. So even if you're a 15 handicap and you're like, well, I'm not good enough to play in these top level, amateur events, you can still do that. So I would encourage people to look into it and give it a shot. And even if you're like me, where you've maybe played in college or, you've haven't played in 5-10 years, whatever, I would encourage you to get back out as well, because it was fun. Now, would I do it again? That is to be determined.
I think you can do it.
I would say I don't miss the feeling of starting to play bad and you're out there and it's lonely and you're just you're just trying to like get off the course. You're trying to just finish. And I don't miss that feeling. I think you'll find me in the 4-bowl every year with Phil. I think that's something we're going to try to do every year. And maybe I'll play the handicap championship. But playing again on my own, I don't know. We'll get to that. But Phil, like I said, I played with Coach Arlinghouse round 1, and if anyone listened to that episode, we talked about historically bad first tee shots by me. And so on the first hole, I pulled it a little left. And if anyone's familiar with Traditions, they got like these bushes down the left. And of course, my ball ends up right up against a bush. Like, I
Did he bring this up at all?
he did not bring it up. I don't think he quite
Okay.
remembered it. He did not. I didn't bring it up. He didn't say anything.
He's had a lot going on since that interview.
Sure. And then I hit my next shot and advanced it like, I don't know, 5 yards. I just got it out of there. And then I hit a wedge to like 40 feet and proceeded to make the 40-footer for par on the first hole. And that really kind of freed me up, honestly.
Sure.
Like after that, it was kind of like, it felt like a birdie. And I was like, all right, like, it just kind of took the nerves out a little bit. And honestly, through 12 holes, I was 1 over par. And for a second there, I was like, am I good enough to be out here? Can I compete in this event?
I did not say anything in our group chat intentionally. I wanted to make sure that Tom, 1, did not hear his phone going off, but 2, just the inner thoughts I had knowing his habits to just stay in the moment. And so when I saw that, I was like, he may have his hiatus may have been much needed.
I'll be honest, like I said, through 12 holes, I'm like, am I good enough to be out here? The answer to that question was no, not really. On the first 12 holes, I was 1 over. On the next, the remaining 24 holes, did I go 19 over par? I sure did. I sure did. And, as Coach Rawlinghouse said, like when we were on the 18th hole, and I was kind of, I was like, oh, I expected to try to break 80 today, and I was right around there. He goes, we came back to the mean, and he was right. It came back to where I thought I would be in the first place. But
78 was the total on the first day.
Yeah, I shot 78, and then the second day I shot 86, and it wasn't. It was tough in the middle of the round. I actually was holding it together, and then I made a triple on 13, and it just went way downhill after that. I will say, when a challenge was presented, I did okay. If you take the top 3 handicap holes in terms of the 3 hardest holes according to the stats each day for the field, I was 1 under par, 5 pars and a birdie. So for some reason, the hardest holes I performed well. I hit it to 2 feet on 8. If anyone knows that hole, that is a hard hole. What a good par 3. Hit the 2 feet on the second day, made birdie. That made me feel better after like making a couple doubles.
Well, this is something that I'm not surprised about. This is something that is kind of in your DNA. You kind of look past the easier ones, and you're like, oh, I got this one, and on the harder ones, you're like, all right, I got to really focus here. I got to really make the smart shot. And we play the toughest holes at 1 under, and then all the rest of them, hell broke loose. So, but it's a learning. It's a learning experience, and proud of you for getting out there and getting in the battle there, being in the Coliseum.
Yeah, I got in the arena a little bit, and hey, I got a good story for you, and it'll tie back to this Mid-Am. So, my buddy Andrew and I, Andrew,
Yes,
this was back when we were probably, I don't know, we were probably 8th grade, 9th grade. We were right like early high school days. We were playing Newman. We were on Newman Red, ready to tee off, and all of a sudden, this like scrawny, skinny kid rolls up, and he's like, "Hey, can I play with you guys?" And Andrew and I just looked at each other. We're like, sure, I guess. And so we get to playing with them, and a couple holes in, it's like, who is this kid? Because, I mean, I'm telling you, every hole, right down the fairway, green, right down the fairway, green, right down the fairway, green. And I'm like, who? And he was younger than us. I forget how many years younger. I think he's 3 or 4 years younger. And by the end of the round, I think he had for sure beaten me. I'm not even for sure if he's beaten Andrew or not. But that young boy at the time was Brennan Walsh, your runner-up in the MET Mid-Am. And we got to know Brennan after that, and he's just a really nice guy. I was really happy to see him like climbing the leaderboard. I wasn't necessarily rooting for one person or the other. Like, so we've had Alex on. I was just obviously excited to see Brennan climbing up the leaderboard. But he obviously went on to have a good high school career at Elder and then went on to play for UC and has become an accomplished player. But yeah, that time we met him, I mean, Tony, he was like this small, skinny kid, and he was so good then. And I'm like, who on earth is this kid? Well, he's our MET Mid-Am runner-up this year. So, yeah, just thought it would be a little fun story to throw in there.
Did we take any lessons from his approach to the golf game that day on Newman Red?
No, we don't. You think I'm not learning from anything. No.
We're men. We learn slowly. That's the way it goes. Tom also today has our random Cincinnati golf fact. So, Tom, take it away.
I sure do. We got a long episode, so we can get rolling with this. Phil, can you name all the courses in the Greater Cincinnati Golf Association area that start with a par 5? Now, here's how this is going to work.
Wow.
I am going to give you 90 seconds. It's a little bit different from our past videos where we've done, you get 3 mistakes. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to name all the courses. Obviously, don't just start running through a list. Be respectful to the game.
Yeah, I know. I think I know 6 or 7 off the top of my head.
All right. Well, hold on here. Hold on here. Give me a second to get our clock started. All right. Your 90 seconds will begin now.
All right. Snow Hill Country Club.
That's one.
Lusantaville.
That is another.
I think this is one because I had a couple of ladies work there and they told me they always loved it. Wyoming.
That is correct. And there are 11 courses.
So there's 3. Reeves.
Is correct.
Shaker Run.
That is correct. I believe it is the Woodlands 9.
That is the Woodlands 9. Deer Track?
That is also correct. You have got 5 more remaining, and you got 38 seconds.
Clover Nook.
That is correct.
Say, I didn't know if that one played or not. Man, the rest of these are guesses. Bellwood?
Incorrect.
Okay. So I imagine there's maybe 1 or 2 more that I have played.
10 seconds.
4 Bridges?
No.
Heritage.
That is your time. Heritage is not correct. The 4 remaining courses you had missed: Beckett Ridge.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Boone Links.
Okay, I didn't play that one.
Hickory Sticks.
Haven't played that one.
And Lassing Point.
All
3
right,
of the 4 you have not played.
Yeah, Beckett Ridge is the first hole is a par 5.
Yep. But that was a pretty good performance.
I'm proud of myself. I can hang my hat on that.
Yeah, that was a pretty good performance, Phil. What'd you get? 7 out of the 11.
All right. Yeah, I knew if I didn't get Snow Hill, I'd be in big trouble. Yeah, that'd been bad. Well, I also thought, Cedar Trace, which is in Claremont County, they are not a GCGA course. They start out with a par 5. And then near and dear to our hearts, Tom, Deer Run started out with a par 5.
That is right. And Houston Woods had flipped their 9s. They did used to start out with a par 5.
In fact, you are correct. So
and Summit Hills, who also did a renovation recently, also used to start out with a par 5. So that was a little bit of a tricky question. And
that was well done. That's a good one. Yeah,
you handled it well.
If I have first tee jitters, it's coming. I remember my first holes. So
that's right. That's right. Well, we've gone on long enough. We'll go ahead and kick it over to our interview with Geoff Hensley.
All right, everyone. Today's guest, he's a 1971 University of Cincinnati grad, 4-year letterman on the golf team. Just a little side note, he's one of the best golfers in University of Cincinnati golf history. He played in 3 NCAA championships. He worked as an assistant pro at Clovernook Country Club, which was his home course growing up, Kings Island Golf Club, and Western Hills Country Club. He played on the PGA Tour under a Class A status in 1977. And starting in 78, 79, he spent 6 years at Hidden Valley Golf Club, then a brief stint in Kansas. He came back to Cincinnati and was the head professional at Coldstream Country Club for 28 years, receiving pro emeritus status. He was then at Ivy Hills Country Club from 2015 to 2020 before he fully retired. He is a UC Hall of Fame inductee in 1991. He is a Southern Ohio PGA Hall of Fame member and inductee in 2011. He is the 1969 Met Amateur Champion, and he is the 1966 and 1967 Met Junior Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Geoff Hensley. Geoff, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Geoff, just go ahead and we'll get you to dive into how you were brought up in the game. If I believe correctly, you took it up a little bit later in life than some other people did.
Yeah, Phil, when you look back into the 50s and the 60s, there were only 3 sports: baseball, basketball, football, and golf, tennis were obviously minor sports. Golf wasn't accessible as much then in the earlier days as it is now. But my folks did join Clovernook Country Club. It was one way of earning an allowance weekly was to caddy. And with that, it sort of got my interest into the game. And I've been playing baseball as a junior. And believe it or not, one day my dad said, we were on a par 3, said, why don't you try to hit one toward that green? And handed me a 5-iron, gripped it like a baseball bat, swung it, knocked it in the middle of the green. I thought, well, this game's not that hard. And as we both all know here, it is hard, but it took a liking to me, and it just did got me into some lessons with the assistant pro Tom Holstein there, and I just fell in love with golf at 13 years old, and so I had my first set of Arnold Palmer signatures from Hirschman Sporting Goods. He wanted to make sure I was going to be interested in the game before investing in a better set of clubs. So, but at 13 years old, I broke 90 second time out, and followed it up at 14, being a 5 handicap, and at 15 and on, I just was a scratcher plus. So I got into the game fairly quickly, and luckily, I had a real good friend who was a couple years ahead of me, Tom Whitelaw, a good city amateur champion as well, and I went to UC player. And since I couldn't drive at my early age, he would take me to Columbus and Indianapolis and tournaments out of town, and he and I were great friends. And that's sort of how I got into it. And when I really got serious about it, Dad would drop me off at 8:00 in the morning on his way into town. Mom would pick me up at 8:00 in the evening when it started. His love of the game.
What kind of led you to UC? I mean, I'm assuming recruiting was not like it is now. What eventually led you to UC to play?
That's a good question. I mean, getting started in high school, and I went to Coleraine, and junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th. So really until your 10th grade, you became a high schooler, but, it's only 2 years of golfing competition, so to speak, in high school. Then in your junior year is when you started looking at schools. I had a good game. I got better as I got older, but I think looking at colleges, I'd like to go south and, where I can work on my game all year long. But my dad, being an athlete himself, said, well, do you want to play or do you want to, be on the team? And of course, any athlete will say, I want to play, regardless of what sport. And he said, if you stay local, they know you're local, you your games here. And it just sort of was a setting stone for me to say, you know what, if I go to UC, um, I'll be one of the guys that I know the other guys on the team fairly well. And it was a comfortable situation there, a comfortable feeling. And, of course, being in a school in the North, you didn't have the access to, what they have nowadays. But it was a great decision, and majored in business education at UC, thinking, well, I'd like to maybe be a high school coach after I get out with a business degree. If I got into the pro ranks, maybe the business background would help me in that aspect. But UC was at the time we were in the Missouri Valley Conference. We, believe it or not, we had a great team: Tom Whitelaw, Ken Backus, Dave Lundy, just to name a few. And we got to go to the NCAA in 1968 and 69 as a team. And then in 1970, I got to go on an individual bid because I finished pretty well in tournaments that we played in. But you got to realize in the 60s and early 70s, being a minor sport, you were regionally pretty much subjected to, where you went to Ball State or you went down to Center. You played schools within driving distance. And later on, when we get into, UC's golf team now, it's just a whole different level. And but we did good, and as a team, and real proud to be on that team and with the school university at the time.
Who was the coach at UC at the time that you played there?
We had Dr. Bill Schwarberg. Bill had played football for UC in his days, and became golf coach. My years there and years before and after me. Pretty much, no, not a chaperone per se, not a coach per se either. I mean, you look at Doug Martin right now at UC as a former tour player. I mean, this guy's got the knowledge and the skills to look at swings and players and know a little bit more than the older days coaches at the time. But Bill was genuinely interested in all the players. He looked out for us. He got us in as many matches as the school could afford. I think if we did get Titleist golf balls, so that was a big step up for a minor sport program that was pretty big in basketball, of course, and football as well. But he great gentleman, a good coach for a friend, as a friend.
Where did you guys call your home course, and what were some of the courses you played tournaments at while you were at UC?
Well, at the time we had enough UC alumni around town, from Kenwood, Clovernook, Makatiwa even, that, would say, hey, you can have some practices here. You can have some matches here. It wasn't really a home course thing back then. I guess you could say Clovernook had some pretty big UC alums, and they could swing things where the top 8 guys could come and play after a certain time of the day. It was not as generous. I think our practicing was at the Golden Tee. We got to hit buckets of balls there at the Golden Tee and play the par 3. It's just in the time being at the time that happened. Tournament wise, they're mostly invitationals. I believe Xavier had an invitational, Notre Dame had invitationals, Purdue invitational. It was, we were a small school going against some heavy competition, especially in the Big Ten or whatever the schools were then. They had a lot more money and a lot more selected players, but we competed, but we just couldn't put those 4 or 5 scores together to really come out, other than our conference, to where we were as good as they are nowadays. UC is nowadays.
Geoff, before we get into any of the professional stuff, I do want to talk about your amateur accomplishments, especially here in the area. I was actually reading. I have a subscription to newspapers.com, so I was reading through a bunch of old newspaper articles of some of your wins and seeing some of the old pictures, and it's very cool. I actually just wanted to read just part of this article talking about you and your game. It said the slender youngster made a big splash in the men's Metropolitan Amateur Championship the last 2 years, finishing 9th a year ago and tying for 11th place this year. He even shared the lead this year after 2 rounds. Geoff, a member of the Coleraine District Basketball Champions, would like to add a few pounds to his 5'8", 140-pound frame. I've been trying to gain weight, he says, by drinking malts and eating as much as I can. But when I step onto the scale, I still weigh 140. The other day, I even weighed 138, which cracks me up. It's good to be young. Can you talk about some of your successes as a junior? I think you've won the junior Met 2 times in a row, which is, one of the few people to do that, as well as obviously the Met victory. Can you talk about some of your wins around here?
Well, Tom, back in those days, you didn't have the workout schedule and everything else that the golfers have nowadays. And I remember Tom Holstein telling me when I was at Clovernook, he said, Geoff, he said, you're 5'8", 138 or whatever, and you're not going to hit it out there, compete in the long drives with some of the bigger guys. But he did say that the way to compete is to work on your short game. And at the time, Clovernook did not have a practice range. That's why I had to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning to hit him up number 7 fairway and before people got to 6, or number 9 fairway before they made the turn. And then we had a practice green area with sand trap and fringe, and you work on your game around the greens. But until play subsided later on in the day, I was subjected to the short game area for about 4 to 5 hours. And even the putting green, I've spent many hours on too. So Tom Gay instilled in me that if you're going to compete, you got to have a great short game. And as we know today, as you watch even pros on the PGA Tour, the 100 yards and in or their short game is what makes winners. And I still preach it to my juniors wherever I'm at, but it's just something that Tom would say, hey, go down and let me see you. And when you chip 10 of them in off the fringe, come up, I'll buy you a Coke. And an hour later, I'd be up and I say, I chipped 10 in, he'd get my Coke. They say, go down and hole out 5 sand shots. Come back, I'll buy you another Coke. I'd be down there for 2 hours then. And so, I really emphasize short game. And even to today, and I'm 70, just turned 77, short game is my forte. I enjoy practicing it. I obviously don't have the length I used to have. But my success with the junior Met, I just, if there were greens in regulation, I probably hit 12 to 14. Greens I missed, I got it up and down 70% of the time. And the greens I hit, I probably made 3 or 4 or 5 birdies. So I got myself into the 60s just from being consistent and having a good short game.
Where were your junior Met wins at in 66 and 67?
In 66, I believe it was at Cincinnati Country Club. I had 65, my first junior Met. I had a lead going into the last 9, and one of my members from Clovernook came out and said, how you doing? And I said, well, I'm 2 under. And he says, you're leading by 3. And I managed to go triple bogey, double bogey the next 2 holes and end up in a playoff with two real nice friends, Phil Gable and Dick Rust. Dick did win in the playoffs. So in 66, we're coming back to Cincinnati, and I said, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to look at leaderboards. I'm not going to listen to anybody. And I think the following year at Cincinnati, I remember winning there. And I think in 67, it might have been at Makatiwa, a longer course, which my game is not long, but again, I kept it in play at Mac. Putted real well at Mac, and I believe I won my second one there at Makatiwa.
And then that was your senior year of high school, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you win in 69 as a sophomore at UC. Where was that tournament at?
Well, the tournament of the regular Met was at Clovernook.
Okay.
And obviously being a member there or growing up there, course knowledge helped. But we still had great players: Marion Shively, Dr. Chili, Tony Bloom. All the greats are playing in the Mets, and The only part that got really tough was I think I might have been right around the top for the first 3 rounds and finally got the lead the 4th round. And I remember going to the 5th hole, par 5. And I second shot, hit it up into the right rough, approaching for the 3rd shot into the green. And my caddy set the bag down next to the ball, and I knocked it, unfortunately, into the sand trap or the bunker right of the green. And we have 200 or 300 people following us at the time. And I remember going in the bunker, and I'm looking down at my ball to hit the sand shot, and I'm thinking, that's not my ball. It was a different brand name on it. And I said to myself, you're the only guy standing here over this ball. Then you know it's not right. It's not your ball. So I called Dr. Chili over to me, and I said, Doc, I hit the wrong ball back there. And Doc had empathy for me, but he's right there with me, not tied for the lead, but maybe a shot back. So we went back to the area where I'd struck the shot, and there was my other ball, maybe 5 yards away from it, in some thick rough. And I played it, and I managed to scrape out a double bogey and lose the lead. But I said, you know what? You didn't stay in the lead for 3 days in 5 holes to give it up now. And I caught fire, I think, on the last 9, maybe for 32 or something coming in. And it was an exciting Met for me. And I think it was a real boost to my confidence in myself and, and in my game to be able to take a setback and still come back from it.
And just to put a bow on everything that you just said, in a future article later when you became a professional, it said he was a wizard in the vicinity of the green, but his drives fell short. Now he says they fly 260 yards before rolling to a stop, and that's the traditional PGA standard. 260 yards was the traditional PGA standard.
Can you believe that?
Not anymore. I guess getting into that and talking about professional, what eventually, when you're playing at UC, did you always feel like you were going to go professional, or what was the steps in
after
in
winning
that?
the Met? College golf really helped because you no longer can play in junior events. And so now you're in that limbo area between, well, what am I going to do when I get out of college? And I can't play any junior events. So you look for tournaments, obviously, like the USAM, the Western AM, Trans-Miss, North-South, tournaments to try and get into and play with national competition. Guys my age then were Tom Kite, Lanny Watkins, Tom Watson. So I'm seeing these guys playing in the major tournaments like that. And even the Western AM at that, making the Sweet 16 my junior year, I think, or maybe my senior year, led me to want to go professional. And Bob Harrison was a great, not only mentor, but a great friend to say, hey, Geoff, you grew up here at Clovernook. You know the members here at Clovernook. You've been around the business. And if you'd like to make your start into the PGA, you got a spot open here if you want it. And he was very instrumental in getting me, my paperwork with the PGA, things I had to do, introducing me to Jim Flick, who was nationally known as one of the best teachers in the country. He was probably the reason I got in because of his influence.
So that's going to be one of my follow-up questions from Tom there. But so you're playing on many tours. You're working as an assistant pro. 1977 occurs. Tell us what the Class A was and just how you got that opportunity to play on the PGA Tour.
Well, getting back to mini tours, there were no such thing as satellite or mini tour tournaments up till about 1973. Today you have the Korn Ferry and the Emeritus tours, and it gives young college kids or people that want to try the tour a chance to go qualify to get into those tournaments. But back in the early 70s, the idea spawned of having mini tour events, and boy, you could get college All-Americans, you could get ex-pros. Somebody was signing up to play in a mini tour tournament. They had them out in Arizona and they had them down in Tampa, Florida, which is where I started with. And I mean, guys like Larry Nelson, Mark Hayes, Joe Inman, guys that were all Americans in college were on the same mini tour that I was on, and they weren't just wannabes; they were already there. Um, but what it did is it groomed you for trying, okay, when a tour school came, you felt like you could handle the competition of 300 other guys when you go to a tour school. And I failed in 3 tour schools. I mean, I came close a couple times. You go from a regional to a national, and then you got to be in the top 30 to get your card. It was a tough process. But in 1977, the PGA, which years before, if you wanted to play in the tour tournament, you tried to qualify on Monday. A local pro could do that. Well, the local pros, couldn't compete with the tour players as much. But in 1977, the PGA said this will be the last year that we'll have opportunity for a club pro with a Class A card to go to try to play the tour. And I think it was March 31st, 1977. That was the final due date, and I might have been the last guy to ever be able to take that opportunity. And I think I started at Hattiesburg the next week, while Hattiesburg was going on the same time Augusta was. So obviously Augusta, you have to win a tournament to play in. So I had some instant success at Hattiesburg. Following week Tallahassee, following week New Orleans. They were all, minor tournaments to the big name players. So guys like myself that had pretty good game, you could maybe get in that tournament. And, there were 150 rabbits every Monday trying to qualify for X amount of spots. Sometimes there were 50 spots to qualify for. And then when the West Coast swing came, there were only 5 spots to qualify. So Monday qualifying was pretty tough. And I was one of the last guys, though, to get out on my Class A card at that time.
I don't want to skip over the fact that you've played in 5 major championships, including when looking at some of the list, I think you played Oakmont twice, Wingfoot. I'm curious if you can talk about the opportunity of being able to play in both the U.S. Open and the PGA Championships.
Yeah, Tommy, it's a great experience to play in a major championship. I think any really good golfer will want to tell you, I think, that when you tee it up in a tournament, it's a tournament. You're playing the course as your competition. It could be, the St. Jude tournament, or it could be the U.S. Open, but it's still 18-hole tournament. And you try to gear your mind like, hey, I'm still going to practice. I'm still going to look at the course practice rounds. I'm going to play it with some strategy. I want to do well. You try to keep the idea, maybe at least I did, as a major coming across your mind and putting more pressure on yourself. I think playing Oakmont was a great experience. Obviously, one of my most embarrassing moments in the game. 1973, I was the first guy off for the U.S. Open. And if you've ever been to Oakmont, the practice range is about 500 yards away from the first tee. And myself trying to get the last minute practice in from the practice tee to the putting green to the first tee. You just want to get there 5 minutes ahead of time and be ready to go. Well, there's a ceremonial with the USGA. They have ceremonial things where they want to welcome the fans and talk about the USGA, and they need the first 3 contestants ready to play at 7:15. Now I'm 7:30, so the cart's coming down to the practice range, and my caddy's running up to the tee, clubs falling out of the bag, getting there, and first to tee off is Geoff Hensley from Cincinnati, and I don't even have a ball in my hand, and so I end up making that double bogey on the first hole at Oakmont, which is not an easy starting hole, and shot 79, and I thought I just not getting off to a good start, and then followed back the second day with a 72, which I felt real happy with, and it was the top 60, I believe, in ties. And I remember the last threesome coming up the last fairway on 18, second day, and I'm in 59th place, tied for 59th, thinking I might make this cut. And two of the three guys, Lee Elder and Bruce Devlin, I think, broke 151. I think they shot 150 or better and knocked the last two spots out. So it was disheartening that I didn't make the cut, but a great experience. Definitely would be ready for the next time. Well, the next time was the following year at Wingfoot, and I was determined there. I'm going back to the U.S. Open, and Wingfoot is the hardest course I've ever played. I mean, it's long, it's tight. The rough was long. USGA hit it so hard. Par fives then became par fours. I think that's where they started making 500-yard par fours. But I shoot 75 the first day and was right there in 19th place. Felt pretty good. And the second round, in fact, I think second hole at Wingfoot, I might have holed out a bunker shot and took the lead at 1 under par. And name up on a leaderboard is the only guy under par. And I thought, don't look at leaderboards. It just adds more pressure. And I think about 2 or 3 holes later, I might have tried to make a downhill par saving putt. And at Wingfoot, the greens were rolling about 14, I think. And it wasn't time to make a charge downhill putt, but I ended up 3-putting to make a double bogey instead. And, still shot 75, but second day I birdied 10 in the second round and got it back to like 2 or 3 over and was right back on the leaderboard, not leading, but, one of those in contention, the top 10. And God, I just went triple bogey, double bogey, and missed the cut there by 2 or 3 shots. So that was disheartening there as well. But got to play at Atlanta Athletic Club in 76, and great experience. And of course, Jerry Pate didn't hole out a 5-iron on the last hole, but what a great finishing hole it was at Atlanta Athletic Club, and great experience playing there. And then my 2 PGAs. To get into the PGA, they had certain conditions as well. I believe my first PGA in 78 maybe was at Oakmont. John Mahaffey won there. But what they did there, the PGA allowed the section champions to play I was, I believe, in Indiana at the time, and I won the Indiana section. And I got the invite to play in the PGA as the section champion. And then I believe in 83, I was in Kansas City, and I qualified for the National Club Pro there. And this is where the PGA sort of moved the conditions to where you had to be in the top 40 in the National Club Pro. And I made top 40 after 4 rounds at PGA National down in West Palm Beach, and got to go to Cherry Hills to play in the PGA there. And great facility there as well. So those are my experiences with the majors. I looked at them as another tournament, tried to keep them downplayed a little bit so I wouldn't put any additional pressure on myself.
You played in that 73 Open at Oakmont. How good was Johnny Miller's 63? It's talked about as one of the greatest rounds of all time. I'm curious, as somebody who played in that event, how good really was that?
It was unbelievable, if I may. I know Johnny Miller was a great player and won a lot of PGA events, but that course, 4th round, pin placements, the rough being the way it was, it was incredible is probably the best word to say. And man, I have so much respect for him in that round. And Johnny's a cool guy. I mean, I'm sure he was in the zone. And when you get in that zone, you just don't want to have any outside influences. You don't want to think about it. You just take one shot, one hole at a time. And he put together one of the greatest rounds in the history of golf, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't imagine just how well-rounded every part of your game, every aspect of the game had to be to shoot that. That's insane.
It is.
Moving forward, what you end up at Coldstream Country Club. What happened for that opportunity to occur? And then you're there for 28 years. Tell us what's so special about Coldstream and why you stayed there for so long.
Um, I'll tell you what. I mean, I was so fortunate to be able to be the pro at Coldstream. I was coming from Kansas City at the time. I was a pro there for 3 years. Just trying to better myself, better my position at one of the best clubs in the country at the time. Coldstream was in the top 100. The layout is great. The members are great. There's no reason to look any further, in my opinion. I really made tremendous friends there. I just the course used every club in my bag. You can play it however long you want. I know they've redone the course to make it maybe a little bit longer, a little bit tougher, maybe redoing the greens or putting in some more bunkers and such. But it was just such a great track and a great experience to get back to Cincinnati, which is my hometown. Raised my family here, and of course, I just felt Coldstream was the last move I wanted to be at. And when retirement came, they were kind enough to give me pro emeritus, which was very nice of them for the years being there. And I owe a lot to the friends and membership there at Coldstream.
I can confirm to you that the course is longer and is harder. It is. Phil and I experienced that at the 4-ball this year. It is a tough golf course.
Yeah, par threes definitely are hard there for sure.
Oh, number 11 is just so hard.
Yuck. That's my favorite hole.
It's a great hole. Don't get me wrong. It's a great hole. It's hard.
It's great.
Especially with those pin placements he had too. That was lovely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as a teaching professional, and how has the technology in the game kind of changed how you've taught the game, or has it changed at all, in your philosophy and how you're teaching the game?
Tom, it's a great question, but I still think, in the sense of fundamentals, as I grew up, the old saying was you find your game in the dirt. Okay. So you just go out and beat balls till you learn how to draw a ball or fade a ball, or if you're digging it, if you're picking it or whatever, you always knew by the dirt. And, it's just, with the new technology now for simulators and training aids, I think it's taken to the next level of really finding out, how's my ball spin? How's the shaft flexing with a stiff versus a regular or an extra stiff? The technology has really helped in equipment as well as the golf swing. In the swing, you see, okay, how's my path coming into the ball? Am I cutting across it? Divots would tell you that in the dirt. But if you want to see it on a monitor, then you can get instant feedback, if I may. I think the facilities now, particularly at UC, Doug Martin has done such a great job there, and an indoor facility with simulators and weight training rooms and things now that golfers have accessible to them, putting green, things like that, and snowing outside, but you're playing Pebble Beach that afternoon or something. I think, as for teaching, you can see instant feedback, and a person that's getting a lesson or a person that's watching a swing can learn faster and correct something faster than trying to hit another 50 more golf balls. He can learn on the next 4 or 5 maybe. But it's helped so much in training aids. I think the teaching pros of nowadays are coming up with new visual aids. Obviously, you can go online and get some instant feedback or instant lessons from famous pros online. And as a club pro, it was sort of a help, because members would go find 10 or 12 things that they saw online and try to incorporate it into their game without a watchful eye. And it sort of helped my lesson income a little bit, because, hey, I'm hooking the ball because, so-and-so said, put that right hand under or so. And with that said, I'd say, hey, okay, you've got your swing, he's got his swing, kind of thing. And it was, but the aids have been tremendously helpful. Ken Kaiser, my fellow professional back in Cincinnati, has Inside Golf out there in Beachmont. And when I go back into town, I can go there and he can look at me in 5 to 10 swings and analyze what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong. And it just something I can leave after half an hour knowing what to work on.
So you brought up Cincinnati there again here real briefly. How cool is it, or just fulfilling is it, to have your alma mater at your home club now?
Phil, I'm so excited for Doug Martin and UC's golf team. I believe they've got the best course in town. I think Xavier started at Makatiwa a few years ahead of UC, with Makatiwa as a nice home for Xavier golf, and built a tremendous facility there, indoor putting green and indoor range for the players. And I think UC caught on to saying, hey, golf's becoming a major sport now. They had extra scholarships to give. And so, if you build it kind of thing, they will come. And Doug Martin came as the coach. He brought a lot of good ideas to UC. And then he took the ideas to the board at Coldstream and said, we'd like to have Coldstream be the home of the Bearcats golf team. And I think our board and the athletic department at UC got together, sat down and worked out some strategies. And I think it's a great selling point for Doug in his recruiting as well. They've given UC a golf tournament invitational there at Coldstream. They do it first class, almost like a major tournament. UC invites great teams to the tournament. So the program is totally 1,000% better overall than obviously when I went, but Doug's done a great job, and I'm very happy that Coldstream has given UC the home court privilege there at Coldstream.
Geoff, just my last question here before I'm assuming we get to our Cincinnati 9, unless Phil has something else.
Okay.
Is there a certain win or accomplishment that you've had in the game that that you're most proud of, or that stands out the most?
Tom, if I had to put a finger on one item, one thing in my life that I'm very proud of, you can have tournament victory, or you can have a hole-in-one. You can look at several things that really, you remember. But I think when I lost my tour card, I was really down and out. And, my dream of being a great tournament player on tour and, being out there with Jack and Arnie or whatever, it was a dream. I mean, I dreamed of it since early college days even. But I think when I lost my tour card and came back home, I looked at my life and said, you know what, if you can't be the best tour player, let's try to be the best club professional. And the old adage, instead of being a small tree on a big hill, maybe a big tree on a small hill kind of thing in relation. But in talking with a fellow professional, Marty Cavanaugh Jr., there was a program in the PGA called Master Professional. And I thought, what's the Master Professional? It's like it's almost the best of the best, or the top level of the PGA. And I said, you know what? I want to be the best. I'm going to strive to be a Master Professional. At the time, there were only 35 of them in the 20-year history. So it was an elite group. But it was something that took additional education. It took writing a thesis when you got done and having it approved. There were a lot of requirements to get there. But I think in 1990, I believe it was, I became the 74th Master Professional. And to me, I said, you know what? It's sort of like Rory winning the Grand Slam finally. It's just something of accomplishment that amongst my peers in the PGA and to myself, I wanted to be the best. And that was my best accomplishment, if I may say.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way to wrap that up, Tom.
Nope.
That's fantastic. All right, Geoff, here we go. We're going to do our Cincinnati 9. Our fellow listeners know we're getting ready to dig into with this gentleman. First question for you, Geoff, and I think Tom and I have this answer already, but favorite
Probably.
Cincinnati area golf course.
I had to go Coldstream. It required every club in the bag. You break 70 there, you were in the zone. To a liken to one other course, Lasanaville has always been a great fun course for me. It has the trees, it has water, it has valleys. Greens are probably the hardest to putt in town. Can't get above the hole, but I've always had a lot of respect for Lasanaville. Is a backup second course my favorite.
Sure. Your favorite Cincinnati area golf hole?
Well, every course is going to have its signature hole. We know that. I remember Tim Wilkins when he had On the Tee, I believe it was a TV show in the mornings on Saturday. He called me one time and said, "Geoff, I want to come out and do your course this week, but what's your favorite hole?" And to this day, as I've told Tom earlier, 11 is just that wind blows out of the south in summertime, 15, 20 in your face. Hole can play anywhere 179 to 240. And you got water in front, water on the side, bunkers on left and right of the green. And the green slopes toward the water. So if you hit it in the right bunker, it can't be too long coming out. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, I found the water and I found the bunker on the right there.
We were a scramble team and we grinded out a par on 11. Like that hole is just, it's tough.
Yep, that's a great hole.
That's a great way to put it, Tom. Favorite snack shack item from a specific golf course, or in general, favorite item to grab at the turn when you're playing?
Back in my day, we drank a Coke and a hot dog kind of thing in my earlier days. Obviously, energy bars and drinks now with powder in them, and it has become a big thing. I like Cincinnati Country Club's ninth hole. It's a nice mini clubhouse kind of thing where you can sit down, and the people there, they expect you to sit down and eat the bite at lunch instead of taking it to the 10th hole with you right away. But I would say just an energy bar and water is what I eat pretty much right now when I'm making a turn.
Sure. Your dream Cincinnati foursome must be people with a connection to the city, living or dead.
Yeah. You know what? I thinking about that. If I had three other pros to play with, I know you're probably looking at outside of golf, but would be a Dick Plummer from Camargo, Bobby Hauer, Gene Samborski, three guys that were just clean, pure gut competition every time we teed it up together. I love those guys, and we always tried to go out and beat each other. But if you had to look at the city of Cincinnati, which I know a lot of people and have been lucky to meet from businessmen to athletes, I would say the one person that really I've always admired is Charlie Meacham. I remember being at Kings Island and being up at the International there, and Charlie looking down International Street there. And he's just a genius. I love that guy. He had visions all the time. And of course, he was a great person to Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and probably all the players on tour. I mean, Charlie was commissioner of the LPGA. He had all the tour players know Charlie, but he would be the guy I could just, when you say play golf with, I'd just drive the cart and listen to him. I think would be good enough for me. A second person, I would say an athlete. I had Johnny Bench as one of my members at Coldstream, and Bench was, athletic. He was he was a powerful golfer as well as a baseball player. But anytime I had, I wanted to learn something about what I could get a little more power, he'd say, "Hey, use the hips or shift the weight." Or he through baseball could even direct me a little bit more on helping me with my golf game. And probably just talking one friend that was a member at Coldstream was Ed Hyman. Ed Hyman was a member at Hyde Park as well as a member at Coldstream. Won numerous club championships at Hyde Park as well as Coldstream. I think he won city senior championship numerous times as well. Ed's company, Hamilton Tailoring, was in charge of the green jacket for Augusta, and used to go down and stay with Ed. When my superintendent, my manager, and I would go down to Augusta to watch the Masters, we'd stay at Ed's place the first 2 or 3 days for practice rounds and then come back. But Ed was just a great person, and I love the guy. And that would be my 3 other players outside of my fellow professionals.
Fantastic. Love that. Favorite non-golf related thing to do in the Cincinnati area?
You mean that there's something else to do in life?
Believe I supposedly.
I'll tell you what, I'm just, I always been golf oriented, I guess. I do like going, love going to the beach, but there's no beach in Cincinnati. But Kings Island was always fun to go to and take my kids to, and enjoyed going there. I pretty much love just being around golf all the time. So.
Hey, Kings Island works. That's a unique answer. We've not heard that one. We've heard
Correct.
heard a lot of Reds games and Bengals and other things, but hey,
Yeah.
Kings Island's unique. I like it.
Yeah.
Do you prefer an early 9 or early morning 9, or do you prefer an evening 9 if given the choice?
I like the early morning 9, Tom. One, my brain's fresh, my body's fresh. Greens are fresh. You get out on the course, freshly mowed greens. That grass isn't grown much by then, and no traffic in front of you hardly. But I'm just early riser and got the juices going early, so I'd probably be an early morning.
Very popular answer. Favorite club in the bag?
Oh, Sandy. Sandy is the favorite club, always will be. Say you can't take it with you, Sandy's going with me. It's a 56-degree wedge that catering to my short game. I can put it back in the stance, turn her into 7-iron chip and run. I can lay it up on my left heel or left toe, lay it open and hit a flop shot with it 100 yards and in. I hate to sound like a one club person. I do use a couple other, depending on where the pin location is. But sand and the pitches and shots, Sandy is my favorite club. 56-degree Vokey right now. I just wear them out all the time. So get a new Vokey every year.
I like it. A wizard needs his tool, Phil. He needs his wand.
Yeah.
He needs that
his wand.
56-degree.
Makes it easier on the putter. That's right.
Sure.
Lord knows I need that.
Your favorite Cincinnati sports moment you've witnessed in person or on TV?
Well, when you say Cincinnati sports moment, it had to be I was going after a national club pro in Palm Springs, and I just got into the airplane, just landed, and when I went in, the local pub had Danny Dreesen catching the ball thrown to him at first base for the Reds to win the 1990, was it? World Series?
1990, okay. They won. Yep.
That's my famous Cincinnati moment. Golf-related moment, got to be Jack Augusta, 86. Here's a guy, 40-some years old, and I mean, making this charge is Jack of old, and you got to love Jack. I mean, he's, in my era, the greatest player of all time, and the just great moment.
Absolutely. All right, final one, Geoff. What's your most memorable golf moment or shot at a golf course in the area?
Oh God! I mean,
there's too many, Phil. There's too many, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, my first hole in one, I was playing with Tay Baker. In fact, Coach Baker I was playing with him and 2 other gentlemen at Clovernook, and we were on the 11th hole there. And I teed it up. I looked at the hole. I turned around and I said, I've never made a hole in one before. And of course, there's some bets flying around and everything else as well. But I said, hit the ball. Let's get going, And first whack went right in the hole. And I remember that moment probably just because it was I called the shot, so to speak. I had course record at Clovernook. I remember playing, going after a quick 9. And there was a group of people on number 1. So the 3 people I playing with, they said, let's go start on the back 9 and come over to the front. And I shot 30 on the back, and it's only going to play 9. Well, it didn't stop that way. And word got through the locker room and the clubhouse. And next thing you know, I'm on number 2 coming back toward the clubhouse. And there's 50 people. Anybody that was in hearing distance is following me for the next 7 holes, and shot 62 for a course record at Clovernook. And that was in 72, I want to say, and stayed up there till about 2019, I want to say. And I think I forgot the young man's name.
Was it Daniel Wederick?
No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but she was 59. And I told Harry Alexander, said, Harry, there's got to be something where I used a wooden head with a steel shaft, and I had all par 5s or 3 shot. And the guy who shot 59, I'm sorry, I don't remember, but, he has modified clubs and balls, and it just, he had 3 or 4 eagles and birdied 7 or 8 holes and shot 59. And I respect, a new records are made to be broken, but, and then Coldstream, I think I hit 64, and we had a course record there that stood up for a while until equipment came out and guys better players and started. So those are 3 great things I remember for in my lifetime.
The 59 was shot by Mr. Andrew Dorn.
That's who it was, Andrew Dorn. Yeah,
that's not shocking.
Great. Yeah, he's hot shot. That he is.
He's a good player. He is a good player.
We faced that in high school, didn't we, Tommy?
Yeah, I played with him at the LaSalle Invitational, and
yeah,
he birdied like 6 in a row. I was like, I am not this good. This guy is good.
Yeah. I think he beat Will. When we had the state amateur at Coldstream, I think he beat Will Grimmer.
Sure.
By 1 shot. And so, I mean, both those guys have game. I mean, they're both stellar players. So,
and all the Wederick boys, I'm sure they've shot some really low scores out there. I'm sure.
Yeah. They're players as well. Yeah. Still.
Well, Geoff, thank you so much for joining us on our episode today. We were honored to have you, and we look forward to hearing many more stories here in the future from you.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I enjoyed my time with you, and I hope you keep on doing what you're doing, because it's great asset for the Cincinnati Golf Association and people to stay informed with golf.
Thank you so much, Geoff.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much.